afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the June 24th, 2022 edition of News from the Front Lines of Business by DW Huff Consulting, where we help you know your numbers so that you can grow your numbers. Let's just jump right in here. It's kind of another week has passes by, but here we are. So it's June 24th. Fun with numbers. So last week we posted something regarding the 103 degree temperature and that, the feels like temperature, and the 98 degrees real temperature, and I don't even have anything more to add to it. That number is still very much alive in my mind, and it's hot and miserable. So anyway, no fun with any kind of temperature related numbers this week, but yeah, it's just unbearable. So anyway, news from the front. All right, so we've had a lot of discussions once again in real estate, tax planning, and whatnot. So we'll kind of just jump into things that are relevant and helpful. So a podcast we saw this week by our folks over at Self-Directed IRA. It's actually directedira.com, but they had a person, Mario Santarelli from Narada Investments, come in and speak about analyzing property, whether or not it's a good deal. So as we all know, real estate values have really spiked this past year and are still pretty high. We see some signs of a little bit of a pullback and a slowdown, I guess, but still things are very, very high. So with that, we've kind of taken a look at some kind of rules of thumb. So one of them is the 1% rule, and this primarily pertains to residential rental property, and that's kind of the rule of thumb. So what that is that anytime you have a property, and let's say keep round numbers here, let's say you have a property you're going to purchase for $100,000, you would expect to receive 1% of that amount as a monthly rent payment. So on a $100,000 property, you would expect to see $1,000 of rental revenue every month. So if the property meets that test, then it's a buy. If it doesn't, then you gotta reevaluate whether or not it's worth it or not. Well, in this current market, they if you get a chance to check out their podcast and look at the details, but when the properties are as kind of in a lot of cases possibly overcooked as they are now, it's harder to find deals that meet the 1% test. So they backed off on it a little bit, and now it's more like a range between 0.7 and 1%. So some of our rules of thumb don't always hold up when property values are high, and maybe that may even lead you away from some properties, because the price is too high. So, but we expect that at some point the rent is going to be increased, so perhaps that will get back to the 1% number. So, it's just food for thought there. But they go into a great amount of detail, not only looking at that rule of thumb, but some other metrics that would help you analyze a property in this strange times that we're in here and decide whether or not it's worth it. Some other topics that have come up as we definitely foresee a recession in the future. Things we could do to kind of protect ourselves. So we talked last week about reducing debt and being careful about what kind of things you have debt on, and keeping that as low as possible. Saving money, but also I guess on the investment side of things, taking a look at things that produce real money, a dividend payer. So we like those in pretty much any market, but in particular in a time of recession, companies who have a proven track record of maintaining dividends can help you weather the recession a little better than growth stocks. So we expect to see obviously growth kind of slowing down a little bit in these environments. Another discussion with our small business clients. So we're getting ready to do a lot of mid-year planning here, but so we have a lot of the S Corporation is kind of like the weapon of choice for most small companies, and that because it's a flow-through entity, right? So that stuff it flows through to the individual shareholders at their tax rate, but the C Corporation is a viable option at this point. So the difference in tax rates, currently the C corporations are taxed at a flat 21%. S corporations, it depends on what tax bracket you are in as an individual shareholder. So if you're a married filing joint person with over $81,000 of taxable income, that puts you in a 22% personal tax bracket. So it's kind of six one half dozen another in that scenario. And above those thresholds, you could find yourself in a higher personal tax rate than a C corporation would be. And there's some caveats, obviously, because when you pull the money out of the C corporation, at some point it will be a taxable dividend, so that double taxation is something that needs to be considered as well. But I guess the answer is not always a black and white 100% this is the way to go versus that's not the way to go, because some analysis of dividend rates and ordinary rates and personal tax rates all need to be factored in. So double taxation is not always the worst thing in the world, and pass-through taxes can be bad too. And if you're in the higher bracket, keep in mind that the highest tax bracket now is up to 37%. So I think that starts around 400 and some change. So so if you're a really high earner having a really good year, you're going to find yourself getting beat up pretty good on the flow-through tax rate there, and then you can avoid a lot of that through a C corporation. So that is something that's come up from time to time when we mentioned it in the beginning, because it came up this week. Another part of our mid-year planning is we looking at not only tax planning but some other estate planning issues too. And we've talked in the past about living trust and other vehicles you should consider. Definitely talk with an attorney about the ins and outs of that. But on this other financial podcast that's hosted by Rob Berger, he mentioned something he calls the blue binder, and I really like this, so I'm going to steal his idea. I got to give credit where it's due. But if you check out, we got the link below in his podcast. But he has a Google Sheets document out there that's a very nice kind of table of contents, inventory kind of list of what you should have in his blue binder to help organize financial documents, so that in the event of your passing away unexpectedly or even expectedly, somebody can go into your home, find this blue binder in which everything that they would need to know that would help out with the administration of your estate will be in one place. So, and there's sections there on the phone number of the accountant, the phone number of the attorney, who's the financial advisor, where are all the assets at, a descriptive list of every bank account, investment account, IRA account, and that sort of thing, as well as trust documents and things that would help really kind of lay out the details of where to find these things. So I really like this idea. This is something that from time to time when we're doing our stuff with our clients, people will ask if I have something. Or really, up until this point, never really had any formal document. But this is going to be what we're going to use going forward. I really like this idea. It's one place, and I like the whole idea of calling it something, this sort of blue binder. That would be our reference from here on out, and we're going to implement that into our discussions going forward. So keep that in mind. Check out the other videos. Like I said, I in addition to our meetings and our discussions, I read and study and observe a lot of these podcasts throughout the course of the week, and hopefully I can bring some of that information to you without you having to spend hours watching YouTube videos. So that's about it for this week. My closing thought here, another Stoic philosophy here. So another quote from Seneca: "Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men." So I guess it goes along with my kind of embrace the suck kind of thing. And when things are tough, keep your head up, keep pushing through, because it makes you stronger and better for having gone through it. And when you get on the other side of these tough times, you'll be that much stronger and that harder. Iron sharpens iron. All those kind of sayings kind of come to mind. So with that is it for the week, and another hot one. But we'll see you out here next week. Bye.